Begin.
Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous. Just a brief intro to the treatments before the founding. In the 1750s and the early 1800s, there was sobriety circles, which were originally comprised of numerous Native American tribes. The Native Americans used holistic healing practices to treat alcoholism, such as sacred dancing, sweat lodges, talking circles, prayers, and even the help of tribe spiritual healers. And then digging deeper into that, Benjamin Rush started arguing that alcoholism was a disease, which was the first time we actually hear about this theory. He committed to educating the public about the hazards of alcohol, and his written works assisted in the start of the temperance movement. The temperance movement was a movement dedicated to promoting the modernization and more often complete abstinence of the use of intoxicating liquor. There was just some propaganda about that was done during the temperance movement. The stages of the drunkenness, which starts out like just a little sip, and it goes all the way down to like he's completely tipsy and can't function. And then the other one says drinking leads to neglect of duty, moral degradation, and crime. There was also lodging homes and homes for the fallen that opened. These were called inebriate homes, and these homes provided short voluntary stays that included non-medical detoxification, isolation from alcohol, and moral reframing, as well as the immersion in newly formed sobriety fellowships. So we're talking about clubs starting with the overall experience of being sober. And the first inebriate homes opened in Boston in the 1950s and were modeled after state or operated insane asylums. The first New York State inebriate asylum, which was opened for drugs, nicotine, morphine, and alcoholism, as well as the insane, was in Binghamton, yeah. And it was considered the first alcohol rehabilitation center in the United States. In 1910, state laws were passed that called for the sterilization of the mentally ill, developmentally disabled, alcoholics, and addicts. The legislation granted the medical supervisors of asylums and prisons the authority to asexualize patients or inmates if such action would improve his or her physical, mental, or moral condition. So basically, if the physician, psychiatrist, or leaders of the asylums thought that it would help them with becoming cured, they would asexualize, which means they would take away the organs, the sexual organs of the patients. So the events leading to the idea of Alcoholics Anonymous was brought up between a New York stockbroker, Bill W., and a surgeon from Akron, Ohio, Dr. Bob S., both of whom were alcoholics. The two met face to face and hit it off, and Dr. Bob was strongly influenced by Bill's ideas of mentality and the success that he was doing. So Bill emphasized that alcoholism was a malady of the mind. So it was very much like it was a mentality. If you want to get sober, you will. And Bill learned important facts from Dr. William D. Silkworth of the Town Hospital in New York. And this hospital was actually another hospital with the idea of curing alcoholism, and it charged by the day. So the day's rent would be like $350, which in today's dollar is more like $5,316. So it was a lot of money for someone to spend to try and get cured. And then Dr. Bob and Dr. Bill soon got to work together with alcoholics at the Akron City Hospital. And the sobriety of him, Bill, and their first patient, who I could not find the name of, was the complete first actual group of the Alcoholics Anonymous, even though they were not called the Alcoholics Anonymous at this time. The second group was in 1935 in New York, and the third was in 1939 in Cleveland. And it took 4 years for these three groups to produce 100 sober alcoholics. Just a quick touch of the Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program. The first step would be to admit weakness to alcohol. The second is it takes a greater power than themselves to recover. Third is make the decision to trust in God to restore them. Fourth, make a search of their moral inventory. Fifth, admit to God, themselves, and another person the exact nature of their wrongs. So basically speak out about it and what they did. Six, be fully ready to have God remove the defects of your character. 7, ask God to remove all shortcomings. 8, make a list of people they harmed and want to make amends with. 9, make amends with the people listed above, unless making amends would injure or cause harm to them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory and admit when wrong. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve their contact with God. And 12, have a spiritual awakening and spreading the message to other alcoholics and continue practicing the principles through life. So types of treatment now used in Alcoholics Anonymous would be peer groups, which is just like in the Native Americans would be talk circles, having other people support you and the journey that you're going through. And peer groups, which is defined partially as the sharing of experimental knowledge, skills, social learning, and was included in one of the 10 fundamental components of recovery and the consensus statement that was recently released by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Peer specialists are expected to help patients create a recovery plan, plan a job, and handle employment-related issues, and learn how to use community and other support systems. Another type of treatment used in Alcoholics Anonymous groups would be the cognitive behavioral theories, which looks into reasons or events that happen prior to drinking, looks for when the drinking happens and patterns of behavior, and brings patterns of behavior into focus for patients in finding ways to change that behavior and change the pattern so they don't get put in situations like that. Any questions? Okay.
How did they come up with the 12-step program?
During the time of the founding of AA, the church was still very big and into the whole spirituality of everything. And so I believe that there was the church's impact in that, which is why it's so focused on God and helping the spirituality of it.
So I recently observed an AA group for one of my classes, and they used a book. Would the 12 steps have come from that book? When did that book come around? What's its importance?
So I believe you're talking about the 12 steps and the 12 theories, or and that was actually their first book published with that, and it's just become a lot more editions that come with it. So it basically walks through the 12 steps and the 12 theories of it.
It's pretty popular in sort of layman's terms now, or for the lay people. So when did that popularity kind of really come about? Was it popular right away? Did it take a while for it to take off for the general public?
It did not become very popular right away because of the society that they were in. And I think it became more popular after the 1940s with the prohibition and everything, and alcohol becoming more negatively looked at within society, and so people wanted to become more sober for that.
Thank you.